Welcome back to the channel. Stop scrolling right now, because the 1964 1-cent USA coin sitting quietly in your pocket, buried in a jar, or forgotten in an old drawer could be the hidden key to a staggering $77 million fortune, and most people pass it every single day without realizing that this small copper coin, with a face value of just 1 cent, has shocked collectors, investors, and treasure hunters across the world with whispers of record-breaking valuations, mysterious errors, ultra-rare conditions, and secret auction battles that transformed an ordinary penny into a symbol of life-changing wealth. And the reason this story is exploding right now is because more people than ever are discovering that the coins they ignored for decades might hold extraordinary potential if they understand what to look for. Because 1964 was a pivotal year in American coinage history. A time of massive production numbers, economic shifts, and transitional minting pressures that created unusual variations and rare high-grade survivors that today command attention at elite auctions where serious collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. And while millions upon millions of 1964 pennies were struck, only a microscopic fraction exist in pristine uncirculated condition with blazing original red luster, razor-sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, flawless fields free from marks, and perfectly preserved surfaces that elevate a simple cent into a museum-level artifact. And when such a coin appears certified at the highest possible grading levels by respected third-party grading services, the price can escalate beyond imagination as wealthy buyers seek the absolute best of the best, pushing values into headline-grabbing territory that sparks viral conversations about how a coin worth 1 cent on paper could ever be associated with tens of millions of dollars in perceived market value. But the real secret lies not just in condition, but in the possibility of rare mint errors and unique striking anomalies that occurred during high-speed production. Because in the rush of minting billions of coins, machinery sometimes produced off-center strikes, doubled dies, die clashes, clipped planchets, and experimental compositions that slipped past quality control and entered circulation unnoticed, and decades later these mistakes become treasures, hunted relentlessly by collectors who understand that rarity plus demand equals explosive value. And when a 1964 1-cent coin displays dramatic doubling on the date or lettering, strong repunched mint marks, or unusual metal composition variations, it can ignite bidding wars that redefine expectations for what a humble penny can achieve in the marketplace. And beyond errors, there is the unstoppable power of grade rarity, where population reports show only a handful of coins surviving in the absolute top-tier mint state levels, making them statistically rarer than many famous gold coins. And scarcity at the highest level creates prestige, and prestige attracts capital, and capital drives record prices that circulate online in sensational headlines claiming astonishing figures like $77 million attached to a coin most people would toss into a tip jar without a second thought. And that contrast between face value and perceived collectible value is exactly what fuels the viral fascination, because it represents possibility, hope, and the thrilling idea that treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And every time someone opens an old piggy bank or inherits a box of coins from a grandparent, there is that electric question of what if one of these is special? What if this ordinary-looking 1964 penny is actually an ultra-rare specimen with immaculate surfaces and a story that traces back to a limited die state or an overlooked minting anomaly? And that curiosity keeps the hunt alive across social media, coin forums, flea markets, estate sales, and online marketplaces where sharp-eyed collectors scan photographs searching for subtle details like full red coloration, squared rims, crisp wheat ears on earlier designs, or sharp memorial building lines depending on reverse type, and flawless strike characteristics that separate common circulation pieces from elite collectible examples. And when you examine a 1964 1-cent coin closely under magnification, you begin to notice the artistry in Lincoln's profile, the fine strands of hair, the boldness of the lettering, the texture of the fields, And you realize that condition truly is everything, because even microscopic scratches or dullness can dramatically reduce value, while a virtually untouched coin preserved carefully for decades can skyrocket in desirability. And stories circulate of collectors who purchased rolls of 1964 pennies decades ago and stored them away unopened, only to discover years later that within those rolls were pristine gems that graded at the highest levels and commanded extraordinary premiums, proving that patience and knowledge can transform small investments into astonishing returns. And the psychology behind the $77 million narrative is rooted in the extreme upper boundary of what rarity combined with hype and elite demand can theoretically produce. Because when an item becomes legendary within a niche community, its symbolic value sometimes exceeds its material composition. And copper worth a few cents becomes an icon worth millions in the eyes of passionate collectors, determined to own a piece of history that almost no one else can claim. And 1964 stands out as a fascinating year because it marked the end of an era before major composition changes in other denominations, a time when coin production was ramping up to meet circulation needs, and subtle variations in dies and strike quality created collectible distinctions that today are carefully cataloged and studied. And the market for high-grade Lincoln cents has grown dramatically as registry set. Competitions encourage collectors to assemble the finest known examples of each date and mint mark, and when competition intensifies at the top, prices can leap into realms that sound unbelievable to the average person. Yet, within the rare coin world, such leaps are driven by documented scarcity and fierce rivalry. And imagine holding a 1964 penny that appears ordinary at first glance, but after professional grading is revealed to be among the finest known, with virtually perfect surfaces and blazing red brilliance untouched by time. And suddenly that coin is no longer spare change, but a trophy piece attracting global attention. And while not every 1964 penny will reach astronomical heights, the mere existence of record-setting possibilities transforms the way people look at their change, encouraging them to slow down, inspect dates carefully, check for doubling in the letters of liberty, and "In God we trust." Examine the mint mark beneath the date if present, and consider whether the coin might warrant professional evaluation, because knowledge is the gateway to opportunity, and countless valuable coins have been discovered by ordinary individuals who simply took the time to look closer instead of assuming that small denomination equals small value. And the legend of the $77 million 1964 1-cent coin serves as a powerful reminder that rarity hides in details, that condition preservation matters immensely, and that markets reward the intersection of scarcity, demand, and storytelling. And as more collectors enter the hobby driven by viral headlines and dreams of discovery, competition for top population coins tightens further, reinforcing the narrative that even a penny can represent generational wealth under the right circumstances. And beyond the money, there is the thrill of the hunt, the educational journey of learning grading standards, understanding die varieties, researching auction archives, comparing color designations like red, red-brown, and brown, and recognizing how subtle shifts in eye appeal influence price dramatically. And for those who immerse themselves in this world, the 1964 1-cent coin becomes more than currency. It becomes a case study in how mass-produced objects can evolve into rare collectibles through time, attrition, and selective survival in extraordinary condition. And each coin tells a silent story of where it traveled, how it was stored, whether it escaped circulation early or endured decades of wear. And the ones that survived untouched are the time capsules collectors crave. And if a single example stands alone at the very top of grading charts with unmatched quality, its theoretical ceiling can soar into sensational territory that captures imaginations worldwide. And that is why people are digging through jars tonight, pulling out copper cents, lining them up under bright lights, searching for that magical combination of sharp strike, flawless surfaces, and original mint luster that could separate an average coin from an elite rarity. And even if the odds are slim, the possibility fuels excitement, because history has proven again and again that extraordinary discoveries happen. When preparation meets opportunity, and the 1964 penny remains accessible enough that millions still exist, yet elusive enough in ultimate condition that only a tiny fraction command premium respect, creating the perfect storm for viral treasure hunting stories that spread like wildfire across the internet, and as values for top registry coins continue to climb in competitive markets, the legend grows stronger, inspiring new generations to learn about coin preservation, safe storage, authentication, and the importance of never cleaning old coins, which can destroy value instantly, and the difference between a clean coin and an original untouched specimen can mean the difference between face value and a life-altering payday, and that single detail alone has saved or cost collectors fortunes. And so the message echoes louder each year that before you spend that 1964 1-cent coin, before you toss it aside, before you assume it is worthless, take a closer look, because hidden among billions struck could be an outlier, a survivor, a masterpiece of preservation that defies expectations and embodies the staggering narrative of $77 million attached to a coin most people overlook, and whether that exact figure represents the absolute pinnacle of hypothetical market frenzy or the symbolic height of elite collector ambition. The underlying truth remains powerful that knowledge transforms perception, and perception transforms value. And every major coin discovery in history began with someone paying attention, someone questioning the ordinary, someone recognizing that small details can signal extraordinary rarity. And as you examine your own coins, you become part of that ongoing story, a modern treasure hunter armed not with a shovel, but with curiosity and awareness. And if this story sparked even a fraction of excitement in you, if you now feel the urge to check your change, research varieties, and explore the fascinating world of rare coins, then make sure you stay connected for more unbelievable coin discoveries. Tap like if you believe treasure can hide in plain sight. Subscribe for more viral coin stories that could change the way you see your pocket change forever. And remember, the next 1964 1-cent USA coin you hold might not just be a penny, but a piece of history with the power to redefine what 1 cent can truly be worth. Next, 1982 D1-cent USA coin. What if I told you that a single 1982 D1-cent USA coin, a tiny copper-colored piece of everyday change that most people would ignore without a second thought, has been talked about in collector circles with jaw-dropping figures reaching as high as $38 million. And the reason this particular penny has exploded into viral conversations is because 1982 was not just another ordinary year, but one of the most dramatic transitional years in modern American coin history, a year when the composition of the Lincoln cent changed forever, creating multiple varieties, rare transitional errors, weight differences, and mint mark variations that turned a common coin into a treasure-hunting phenomenon. And if you truly understand what happened in 1982 at the Denver Mint, you begin to realize why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. Because during that year, the United States Mint shifted from the traditional 95% copper composition to a copper-plated zinc core due to rising metal costs. And this change did not happen neatly on January 1st, but unfolded during production, resulting in both heavy copper cents weighing about 3.11 grams and lighter zinc cents weighing about 2.5 grams being struck in the same year. And that alone created confusion and opportunity. But when you add in the fact that there were large date and small date varieties for both Philadelphia and Denver issues, the complexity multiplies, and suddenly 1982 is not one coin, but a family of different types that require careful study, precise weighing, and magnified inspection to identify correctly. And among these combinations, the 1982 D small date copper cent has become one of the most legendary modern rarities ever discussed. Because according to long-standing numismatic research, the Denver Mint was believed to have struck only zinc small date since that year, meaning that if a copper small date example exists from Denver, it represents a transitional error of extraordinary significance, A coin struck on the wrong metal planchet during a chaotic composition change, and when such a coin is authenticated and confirmed, it immediately becomes a headline-making rarity, the kind of coin that registry collectors dream about and investors chase aggressively. And while millions upon millions of 1982 cents were produced, only a microscopic fraction could ever qualify as this rare transitional variety, and that is the spark behind the sensational $38 million narrative. Because in the rare coin market, value is not driven by face value but by rarity, demand, historical importance, and condition, and when a coin represents a unique or nearly unique mistake during a pivotal year, its ceiling becomes limited only by how far elite collectors are willing to go to secure ownership. And imagine holding a simple 1982 penny and discovering through careful weighing that it registers approximately 3.11 grams instead of 2.5, indicating it might be struck in copper rather than zinc, and then confirming under magnification that the date style matches the small date variety with its distinct numeral shapes. Suddenly that ordinary coin transforms into a potential numismatic unicorn, and stories of such discoveries have electrified the hobby, inspiring countless people to pull out digital scales, separate their 1982 cents by mint mark, examine the shape of the 2 in the date, and learn the subtle differences between large date and small date designs, because knowledge is power in coin collecting, and tiny details can mean the difference between 1 cent and a fortune. And the Denver Mint's mint mark beneath the date becomes the focal point of attention as collectors scrutinize every 1982 coin they encounter, hoping to find that elusive copper small date combination that defies expectations, and even beyond the transitional error. High-grade examples of 1982 cents in pristine mint state condition, with blazing red luster and flawless surfaces, can command strong premiums, especially when certified at the top of the grading scale where population numbers are extremely limited, because condition rarity is another powerful driver of value. And when only a handful of coins survive in near-perfect condition out of hundreds of millions struck, competition intensifies dramatically, and registry-set collectors seeking the finest known examples push prices higher and higher, sometimes to astonishing levels that outsiders struggle to comprehend. And the 1982 cent also represents a fascinating lesson in how economic pressures influence coinage, because rising copper prices force the mint to innovate, leading to the adoption of zinc cores that are cheaper to produce but more prone to corrosion if damaged. And that change created a dividing line in history where pre-1982 cents are primarily copper, while post-1982 cents are mostly zinc, making the transitional year especially significant for collectors who appreciate turning points. And the weight difference between copper and zinc cents is not just a trivial statistic, but the key to unlocking this mystery, because a difference of just over half a gram separates common from potentially extraordinary, and that small measurable factor has fueled treasure hunts across America and beyond, with collectors carefully calibrating scales to ensure accuracy to the hundredth of a gram, knowing that a misreading could mean overlooking a fortune. And the excitement grows each time a new example is rumored or confirmed, because the existence of even one authenticated 1982 small date copper cent proves that transitional errors can and do escape into circulation, reinforcing the belief that others might still be out there waiting to be found, perhaps sitting unnoticed in a jar of spare change, a bankroll of pennies, or an inherited coin collection gathering dust. And this possibility is what makes the 1982 cent story so powerful and viral, because it combines historical change, measurable science, rarity, and the dream of discovery into one compelling narrative. And when people hear figures like $38 million attached to a penny, it challenges their assumptions about value itself, forcing them to reconsider what determines worth in a collectible market, because metal content alone cannot explain such numbers. Rather, it is the intersection of rarity, condition, certification, provenance, and competitive demand that creates explosive valuations. and auction dynamics play a crucial role as well, because when two determined collectors both need the same coin to complete a top-ranked registry set, bidding can escalate rapidly beyond previous records, establishing new benchmarks that ripple across the market. And while not every 1982D cent will ever approach such heights, the mere existence of a rare transitional variety elevates the entire date into the spotlight, encouraging deeper research and wider participation in the hobby. And collectors learn to identify the subtle curvature of the small date numerals, where the 2 has a more delicate shape compared to the thicker large date style, and they study the position of the mint mark and the texture of the surfaces, understanding that authenticity verification through professional grading services is essential before any extraordinary claim can be accepted. Because in a market where millions of coins exist, documentation and certification separate fact from speculation, and when a coin is encapsulated and graded by a reputable service confirming its weight, composition, and variety, confidence surges and serious buyers take notice, and the psychology of scarcity begins to drive headlines, because humans are wired to pursue what is rare and difficult to obtain, and a transitional error from a pivotal year fits that description perfectly. And beyond the financial aspect, there is a deeper appreciation for the craftsmanship and history embedded in these small discs of metal, because each 1982D cent was struck with immense pressure by powerful coining presses, imprinting the portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the memorial reverse design with remarkable precision, and the artistry of those dies combined with the industrial scale of production makes the survival of a rare error even more astonishing. And collectors often reflect on how easily such a coin could have been lost forever in circulation, worn down by decades of transactions. Yet somehow a few may have escaped heavy wear and survived long enough to be recognized, and that element of chance adds drama to the story, reminding us that extraordinary finds often depend on patience and persistence. And as more people become aware of the 1982D transitional narrative, the hunt intensifies, creating a ripple effect where demand for all varieties of the year increases. Reference guides are consulted more frequently, online forums buzz with discussions of weight measurements and die diagnostics, and educational videos teach viewers how to distinguish copper from zinc cents safely without damaging them, emphasizing never to clean a coin, because cleaning can permanently reduce value and destroy the very surfaces that make high-grade examples so desirable. And this growing awareness transforms everyday pocket change into a field of possibility, because even if the odds of finding a multi-million-dollar rarity are slim, the thrill of checking costs almost nothing but time and attention. And the 1982 D1 cent coin stands as a modern reminder that numismatic treasures are not confined to ancient gold or silver, but can emerge from recent decades when historical transitions occur. And whether the ultimate market value of a confirmed top example reaches tens of millions or remains within elite collector circles, the legend itself has already reshaped how people perceive this humble penny, turning it into a symbol of opportunity hidden in plain sight. And every time you encounter a 1982D cent now, you might feel compelled to flip it over, check the mint mark, weigh it carefully, study the date style, and imagine the possibility that this small copper-colored coin could be far more significant than its 1 cent face value suggests. And that sense of possibility is the heartbeat of coin collecting, the reason people search through rolls, attend coin shows, analyze auction results, and preserve history one coin at a time, because sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest stories. And if this deep dive into the 1982 D1 cent USA coin opened your eyes to how a simple penny could be linked to staggering figures like $38 million, then make sure you stay tuned for more unbelievable coin discoveries. Hit like if you believe treasure can still be found in everyday change. Subscribe so you never miss the next potential fortune hiding in your pocket. And start checking your 1982 D pennies today, because history has proven that rare coins often reveal themselves to those who take the time to look closely. Next, 1981 cent USA coin. before you ignore another penny in your pocket. Stop and imagine this for a second, because the 1981 cent USA coin that most people have seen thousands of times could be connected to a staggering $39 million valuation under the right circumstances. And the reason this sounds unbelievable is exactly why it has captured so much attention among collectors, investors, and everyday people who suddenly realize that something so small and ordinary can carry extraordinary potential when rarity, condition, and demand collide at the highest level of the numismatic market. And while millions upon millions of 1980 pennies were struck and circulated widely across the United States, only a microscopic fraction exist in elite, flawless condition or display dramatic mint errors that transform them from common currency into trophy-level collectibles pursued by serious registry-set competitors. And the story of the 1981 cent coin begins with understanding that during this era, the Lincoln cent was still composed primarily of 95% copper, giving it that solid weight and rich tone that collectors appreciate. And unlike later zinc issues, these earlier copper cents have a distinct presence in hand, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. And when preserved in pristine mint state with blazing original red luster, they can appear almost as if they were struck yesterday despite being over 4 decades old. And condition is everything in the rare coin world, because grading scales are unforgiving, meaning that a single tiny mark, a faint rub, or a dull patch of color can drop a coin several points and reduce its value dramatically. But when a 1980 cent survives with virtually perfect surfaces, razor-sharp strike details on Lincoln's portrait, fully defined hair strands, crisp lettering in Liberty, and I in God We Trust, and an untouched brilliant red finish free from spots or carbon stains, it enters a different category entirely. Especially when certified at the highest mint state grades where population reports show extremely limited numbers. And this is where the idea of multi-million-dollar valuations begins to form, because when a coin is among the absolute finest known examples, and registry collectors compete fiercely to own the top-ranked piece, bidding wars can escalate beyond expectations. And history has shown that coins once considered common can shatter records when the finest certified example appears at auction and two determined buyers refuse to back down, pushing prices into astonishing territory that sparks viral headlines and renewed interest in searching through old rolls and collections. And beyond condition rarity, there is also the powerful allure of mint errors, which can occur in any year including 1980, because the minting process involves massive presses striking planchets at high speed, and occasionally something goes wrong, resulting in off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, dramatic die cracks, or double die varieties that show noticeable doubling in the date or lettering. And when such errors are bold, visually dramatic, and authenticated, they become highly desirable to specialists who collect error coins. And if a unique or one-of-a-kind error were discovered on a 1980 cent in exceptional condition, the sky becomes the limit in terms of theoretical market value, because uniqueness combined with demand creates intense competition, and the market for Lincoln cents has grown substantially over the years as collectors build complete date and mint mark sets, often striving for the highest graded example of each year, and this registry competition fuels premium prices for top population coins. And the 1980 cent from the Philadelphia Mint as well as the Denver Mint marked by a small d beneath the date both present opportunities for condition rarity, because while circulation examples are abundant, gem-level survivors are much scarcer than people assume. And many 1980 cents entered circulation immediately, experiencing wear, scratches, and environmental exposure that permanently reduced their collectible potential, meaning that only coins carefully saved in original rolls or mint sets have a realistic chance of achieving elite grades decades later. And when one of these coins emerges with flawless surfaces and vibrant color that has not faded to brown or red-brown, it commands attention, and collectors analyze every detail under magnification, studying strike quality, luster flow lines, and the presence or absence of contact marks. And when grading services encapsulate such a coin with a near-perfect grade, it becomes a centerpiece item, often selling for multiples of previous records because top-grade Lincoln cents are surprisingly rare compared to their overall mintage numbers. And the psychology behind the $39 million figure lies in the idea that if a coin is the single finest known example with unmatched appeal and historical significance within a highly competitive collecting community, its price ceiling becomes a function of how much prestige and completion value it holds for the wealthiest participants in that market, and prestige is a powerful motivator, because owning the absolute best-known 1981 cent coin would grant bragging rights and registry dominance that cannot be replicated, and when pride, competition, and financial resources intersect, numbers that once seemed impossible begin to materialize. And beyond the financial aspect, the 1980 cent represents a snapshot of American economic history at the dawn of a new decade, a time when inflation concerns and metal costs were influencing coinage decisions that would soon lead to the composition change in 1982, making 1980 one of the last full copper-era years before the transition to zinc core cents. And that historical positioning adds another layer of appeal for collectors who value transitional periods and end-of-era issues. And the survival of ultra-high-grade copper cents from this era is not guaranteed because copper is reactive and prone to spotting or toning if not stored properly, meaning that maintaining blazing red color for over 40 years requires ideal storage conditions away from humidity and contaminants. And that rarity of preservation further explains why only a handful of coins achieve the very top grades. And every time a new highest-graded example is discovered, the collecting community takes notice, reassesses price guides, and speculates about future auction results. And stories circulate of collectors who purchased sealed rolls decades ago and finally opened them to submit the best coins for grading, occasionally uncovering exceptional specimens that redefine expectations for the date. And this possibility keeps the hunt alive, because unlike ancient treasures buried in the ground, 1980 pennies still exist in jars, drawers, and bank boxes across the country, waiting to be examined carefully. And while the vast majority will remain worth only face value or a modest premium, the excitement lies in the slim chance that one coin might stand above the rest in condition or feature a dramatic mint anomaly that elevates it into elite status. And the process of checking is simple yet thrilling, because you examine the date, confirm the mint mark at present, inspect the surfaces under good lighting, and if the coin appears unusually sharp and vibrant, you consider professional grading to determine its true status. And collectors emphasize never to clean coins, because cleaning can permanently damage surfaces and eliminate the very qualities that grading services reward. And the difference between an untouched mint state coin and a cleaned example can mean the difference between a modest premium and a life-changing payout. And as the market for high-grade Lincoln cents continues to mature, driven by registry competition and online visibility, values for top population coins have shown the potential to reach extraordinary levels. And even if $39 million represents the extreme upper narrative that captures attention and fuels viral conversations, the underlying lesson remains powerful that condition rarity and demand can transform even the most common denomination into a prized collectible. And the 1981 cent coin stands as a reminder that numismatics is not only about gold and silver, but about understanding scarcity within mass production, recognizing how many coins were made versus how many survived in exceptional condition, and appreciating the artistry and history embodied in each small copper disc. And every coin tells a story of where it traveled, how it was handled, and whether it escaped decades of wear to remain nearly perfect. And when such a survivor appears in the marketplace, it represents both history and opportunity combined. And as more people become aware of the potential hidden within modern-era coins, interest grows, searches intensify, and educational resources expand, encouraging careful study rather than blind speculation, because informed collectors are the ones who succeed in identifying genuine rarities. And the legend of the 1981 USA coin reaching $39 million may sound dramatic, but it reflects the broader truth that in the world of rare coins, the right combination of rarity, grade, demand, and timing can produce astonishing results. And the next time you see a 1980 penny, instead of dismissing it as insignificant, take a closer look at its surfaces, its color, its strike, and imagine the possibility that among billions struck there could exist a single coin so pristine, so exceptional, that it rewrites the record books and transforms a humble cent into one of the most talked about collectibles of its era. And as the legend of the 1981 cent USA coin continues to spread, the deeper you go into the world of high-grade Lincoln cents, the more you realize that the true power behind a $39 million narrative is not fantasy, but the mathematics of rarity multiplied by obsession. Because when billions of coins are struck yet only a microscopic handful survive in virtually flawless condition, the supply curve collapses at the very top, while demand among elite registry collectors remains intense, creating a perfect storm where a single coin can command numbers that sound impossible to the average person. And the fascinating part about the 1980 cent is that on paper it appears common with hundreds of millions minted, yet population reports at the absolute highest certified grades reveal astonishing scarcity, sometimes only a few coins graded at the very peak with none finer. And when a coin stands alone at the summit of a competitive registry ladder, it becomes more than metal. It becomes a trophy, a symbol of dominance in a field where collectors invest not only money but pride and years of effort assembling the finest sets possible. And that competitive psychology fuels aggressive bidding because the difference between first place and second place can hinge on a single point in grade. And if one 1980 cent is graded just a fraction higher than all others, its owner holds a permanent advantage that others may try desperately to overcome. And this is where record prices are born, not from face value, not from copper content, but from the relentless pursuit of the absolute best-known example. And imagine the scenario where a 1980 cent graded at the highest conceivable mint state with blazing full red color, immaculate surfaces free from carbon spotting, no visible contact marks even under magnification, and razor-sharp strike definition appears at a major auction. Immediately registry competitors recognize the opportunity, knowing that upgrading their set could secure long-term top-ranking status, and bidding escalates rapidly, fueled by adrenaline and prestige. And while most 1980 cents remain common circulation coins worth only a cent, that one flawless survivor becomes the center of attention, discussed in forums, analyzed in articles, and celebrated as the ultimate example of its date. And beyond condition rarity, there is also the mysterious world of die varieties that can exist quietly for years before being widely recognized, because subtle doubling in the date or lettering may not be obvious to the untrained eye, yet specialists who study die diagnostics can identify minute shifts in hub impressions that create collectible double die varieties. And if a dramatic double die were confirmed on a 1980 cent in exceptional condition, the combination of variety rarity and grade rarity would amplify desirability exponentially, especially if few examples were known, and collectors often underestimate how many coins were mishandled over decades, stored in humid basements, tossed into jars where they clanged against each other, or cleaned improperly in misguided attempts to make them shine. And all of those factors reduce the surviving pool of gem-quality coins, meaning that pristine red examples from 1980 are far scarcer than raw mintage numbers suggest, and coppa's natural tendency to tone or spot makes long-term preservation challenging. So when a coin maintains its original fiery red brilliance after more than 40 years, it stands out immediately, and grading services reward that originality with higher color designations that significantly influence value, because a red designation can multiply price compared to a red-brown or brown example, and the difference between those color categories can mean thousands or even millions at the extreme upper end. And the concept of $39 million attached to a 1980 penny symbolizes the outer boundary of what can happen when the market converges around a singular best known piece, because value in collectibles is often about narrative power, and the narrative of a humble penny becoming one of the most valuable modern coins in existence captures imagination across generations, inspiring new collectors to participate in the hunt. And the hunt itself is accessible, because unlike rare gold coins locked away in vaults, 1980 cents can still be found in circulation rolls, estate collections, and forgotten coin albums, and that accessibility fuels excitement, encouraging people to search carefully, invest in magnification tools, learn grading standards, and perhaps even acquire a precise scale to confirm weight consistency, ensuring that their coin matches expected copper specifications. And although 1980 predates the major zinc transition of 1982, understanding weight and composition remains important because authenticity verification is critical before any extraordinary claim can be accepted, and professional grading provides that credibility, encapsulating coins in tamper-evident holders with certified grades that the market trusts. And trust is everything when 7 or 8-figure sums are discussed, because without authentication, even the most beautiful coin cannot achieve record prices. And over time, as more collectors build high-grade Lincoln sets, competition intensifies for each date. Not just the historically famous ones, like 1909 SVDB or 1914D, but also later dates, where the finest known examples are surprisingly elusive. And the 1980 cent occupies an interesting position because it represents the late copper era before the dramatic composition change, making it part of a historical arc that collectors appreciate. And when you consider that many collectors aim to assemble complete red sets spanning decades, the pressure to secure the best available 1980 becomes real, especially if population data shows only 1 or 2 coins at the top grade with none higher. And that scarcity at the summit is what transforms ordinary into extraordinary, and every time a new highest grade example is certified, the market recalibrates, speculating whether it could break previous records, and speculation itself drives attention, increasing liquidity and awareness, and sometimes that awareness attracts wealthy investors who see rare coins as tangible assets with historical significance and limited supply, diversifying portfolios beyond traditional markets. And when investor capital enters a niche category with limited top-tier inventory, prices can rise dramatically, and the symbolism of a penny worth $39 million becomes a powerful marketing headline that reinforces the perception of rarity and potential, encouraging further participation in the hobby. And yet beneath the sensational numbers lies a simple truth that condition preservation, documentation, and patience are the foundations of value. Because no coin achieves elite status overnight, it survives decades through careful storage, escapes damage, and ultimately earns recognition through grading and exposure in competitive markets. And every 1980 penny in existence once left the mint identical in design, but time and circumstance determined which ones would remain ordinary, and which might ascend into the realm of legendary collectibles. And that randomness is what makes the search thrilling, because somewhere there could still be an untouched roll containing a coin with surfaces so pristine that it challenges all known examples. And the person who discovers it might not even realize its significance at first glance, yet with knowledge and attention, they could unlock a story that reshapes the modern Lincoln set market. And the idea that a coin with a face value of 1 cent can command millions forces us to rethink how value is created, revealing that scarcity, demand, competition, and narrative combine in powerful ways. And whether the ultimate price achieved by a top 1980 cent reaches the symbolic 39 million mark or remains slightly below that extreme, the principle remains the same, that the finest known examples of widely collected series can achieve breathtaking results when the right buyers meet at the right moment. And this is why coin collectors emphasize education, careful inspection, and long-term preservation, because even modern-era coins deserve respect. And as more people become aware of the hidden potential within the 1981 cent USA coin, the hunt continues, rolls are searched, collections are reevaluated, and the dream persists that among the billions struck there exists a singular masterpiece waiting to astonish the world. And if this deeper exploration has made you look at your spare change differently, if you now feel the urge to examine every 1980 penny you encounter with fresh curiosity and determination, then stay connected for more stories of unbelievable coin discoveries. Share this with someone who never thought a penny could hold such power. Subscribe so you never miss the next rare coin revelation. And remember that sometimes the smallest coin in your hand can carry the biggest story in history.